Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good evening, good night. Whatever stage of the day it is for you. Welcome to another edition of the Radical Preacher Show. And on this edition of our show, we have a very symbolic interview. We have with us Waldor, the last line of the Giants. Waldor, would you like to say a word to the people out there?
I'm Waldor, the last of my kind.
Now, I'm very grateful that Waldor has been able to squeeze into the studio. And I say squeeze because it's been one hell of a job. And I do apologize for me being blasphemous there. But it has been an extraordinarily difficult job just to get you into the studio.
It has certainly been an effort, one that now I have fitted into the studio. I appreciate.
And we appreciate you being here with us. So, Waldor, how did the Giants come to be?
Well, the Giants came to be by Cyclops. Cyclops was really the original giant. And he was the son of Poseidon and Phorcys, the sea nymph. That was the first of our kind. And then we spread. Slowly but surely we spread across the lands. And we developed into a large roaming community. And at our height, there were thousands in number of giants and giant beings. We were protectors of the earth. We were farmers. Agriculture was something that we were specialists at. But unfortunately, the lineage started to die out.
And why did the lineage start to die out?
Belief, wars, the depth of magic.
Why did this whole thing about magic? Because I find that quite interesting. Because a lot of people do say that when Earth, at some point in the early days of Earth, when it was a lot more fertile, that magic roamed, and that there was a lot more of these mystical beings about. But now, you don't really find too many of these mystical beings, if at all. And why is that?
Well, the last of the giants came during the Great War, when Merlin came to see us.
Merlin? So Merlin is the truth and not some fiction?
Merlin was an actual person. He was a good friend of my great. I don't know how many greats, but there's a few greats going back farther. And we decided to join Merlin in the fight of the War of All Wars. But during the War of All Wars, when beasts of all kind and creatures of all kind were to fight against one another, great losses were suffered and incurred. And the lineage of the giants, we suffered a heavy toll and a heavy price. Because like all wars, you choose sides. And like giants, we chose sides. Some for the forces of good, others for the forces of evil. And those losses, they took their tolls.
So after the Great War, what was the other reasons for the giants losing their not just losing their ways, but becoming lesser in numbers? What were the significant reasons you feel that led to this?
The belief. People stopped believing. We started to industrialize the world. The magic that was fertile in the lands, they stopped. And the most significant thing, the reproduction of the giants, they stopped too. And so it was harder and harder and harder for our females to be impregnated. And when they were impregnated, the child which was born, they were born of average height. And we knew then that the last of us were going to happen, and that this was the last. And I, unfortunately, am the last of us, the last of the giants.
So the last of the giants. We're now in present day. Where do you roam? Because I know that for some beings, and I was talking to the vampire ambassador, that, when people are different, they like to go their own way. They don't necessarily like to maintain a presence which is visible to the rest of the world. And I must admit, Waldorf, I haven't seen you at all. So where, if I can say, are you hiding?
I choose to live my life separate from the great masses. It is easy that way. Do not let them know that you exist. It is better. It is an easier way to cope. And of course, I have my memories, and I pay homage to all my ancestors and those who walked before me. But I know now, as I am a great old man, that I am just waiting for my time to pass, so I can be reunited with my ancestors in the other lands, and I can roam free. So until those days come, and those days will be soon, I will live this life alone, away from those masses.
So I can perhaps convince you to do a couple of shows down in the bunker?
Maybe. But I prefer a life of solace. It gives me my time to think.
What was the happiest moment of your time as a giant? What's been a great memory of yours?
The great memory of mine was my younger years. There was still a community of us. Unfortunately, they are no longer, but we used to have fun like old children had fun. There was a few of us and their parents. I remember those times with great laughter and joy to behold. But I had to bury their bodies, and sometimes the good memories, but there are also ones you would like to forget.
Wow. Waldorf, you have impressed me today. I have been so lucky, and we as an audience have been incredibly lucky and fortunate to have you join the studio and to talk to us and dispense some wisdom. What's next for you?
There is no next. There is survival, but there is no next. So I will bid you farewell and thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you and to anyone else out there.
The pleasure, Waldorf, has been mine. So, Waldorf is now struggling out of the studio. He is an incredibly tall man. Actually, Waldorf, before you leave,
Yes.
your height, how big?
My height is 20 foot tall. Exactly.
Wow. Exactly. So you've actually measured yourself with the tape and everything, and it's exactly 20 foot tall.
Exactly 20 foot tall. Amazing as it is to believe, it is exactly that.
That's incredible, Waldorf. And one more quick question for you before you depart our studio. Your age, Waldorf. How old are you?
I'm 191 years old and 7 months.
Incredible, Waldorf. Well, it's been an absolute joy and pleasure to have Waldorf join us and dispense his advice. And now he exits out there to the world. And it's been honor for us and for me to personally talk to Waldorf. So, radicals out there, goodbye. And remember, preach, baby, preach. Disco Inferno. Bye, yo.